Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Blood and Pigment Podcast. My name is Garrett Swader, and I'm here with a lot of people today. I'm here with Dan,
Hello.
Joseph,
Hello there.
Riley,
How's it going?
and Jason.
Hey, howdy, hey.
I'm glad we have as many people as we do on this episode because we're going to be going over the basically high-level overview of the different factions for our episode today. And when I say factions, I mean nations. The Spanish, pirates, English, French, Dutch, unaligned, and natives. I think I got all of them.
You got at least all of them, yeah.
We're going to go through our normal stuff at the beginning here, starting off with Hobby Desk. Joseph, if you want to take off with that, we'll get started.
Oh, I got a little painting in, actually. It's fun to... I got some maroons painted. These are some new models, but I had a convention over this last weekend, but I needed some minis for a new scenario, so I actually painted 10 new maroons, new models, and including a Queen Nanny legendary commander model, which is pretty cool. Got a new paintbrush, one of those nice Winsor & Newton paintbrushes for my birthday last week, so I'm all set to paint some more. And I kind of cleaned up my desk, but only 10 minis, which pales in comparison to Adam Horton, who painted like 200 minis the week before the convention that he and I went to together. But it's pretty good for me. That's it.
Yeah, I've got the Queen Nanny model ready to be primed, so hopefully I'll get those new maroon sculpts painted by the end of the year.
Yeah, those are really great ones, and hopefully they'll go on up this year for everyone's to enjoy.
I finished a big project recently. My San Pablo galleon is done. It was on display at my game store today at the Summer of Plunder kickoff party. By the way, that has started. Today is June 1st as we record this. So get out there and play your Summer of Plunder games. Make sure you're doing what your commanders want or not, cause chaos, whatever you want to do. I'm almost done with the June miniatures. I've been trying to do 8 miniatures a month, as we know from the previous episode where we did our New Year's goals. So I'm on track with that. I've been a month ahead. I've not gotten June's miniatures completed quite yet, but they are nearly done. How about you, Dan? What you been working on?
So I finished a big project as well. I have finished my HMS surprise hull for Blood and Bayonets. The hull is completely done down to the gun ports. The next step is just doing the rigging. But it's the biggest model I have ever painted, ever, as far as size goes. To a point where I had to use tape to make sure that my lines stayed at least somewhat straight. I used a combination of my Vallejo acrylics and then speed paints where applicable. She looks amazing. She just needs some sails, and then I'm just waiting for the Blood and Bayonets Kickstarter to finish up so I can hopefully snag the Carronade STLs off of my mini factory and then press gang Riley into printing me a whole bunch.
I just wonder how much bigger that ship is compared to the 6th rate. It's hard to see by itself. It looks big, but how big is it compared to 6th rate?
I took pictures like a month or two ago. It is longer. I want to say it's got a couple inches on it. It's not much longer, but it is definitely longer. Maybe 3 to 4 inches longer, maybe.
It's pretty cool. Big project.
Yeah, she looks awesome. I just put the wheel on her too, so everything looks good. I painted her exactly from the reference photos from the actual ship that's in San Diego. So everything is as close as I can get it on the model. Obviously, some things were done for gameplay purposes, and because the hull is based off the parent ship, the HMS Rose, so it doesn't have the shield with the maidens on the back and doesn't have the HMS Surprise plaque on the back as well on the stern, but she still looks amazing, despite the fact that we agonized over black versus blue at the bottom of the hull, and I decided to stick with the blue. And I like it. Looks great.
I've been working on a lot of sailors for doing some conventions. I have some European sailors with muskets, some with upgrades, and some sailors with bracelet pistols. So lots of sailors over here. I'm also working on making an island using pink foam insulation and plaster rocks. I haven't made a whole lot of progress on it, but finding out how hard plaster is to work with, trying to keep it from crumbling. But it's a lot of fun so far. We'll make sure to post some pictures with it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out. But I don't envy you working with plaster.
Yeah, it's weird. You gotta mix it just right, otherwise it does not want to set properly. But that's all right. I'm sure once I've mixed up more than 10 batches, maybe it'll get a little bit easier. But so far, it's a little bit of a pain.
How about you, Jason? Do you have anything going on?
I've been working on trying to clear my backlog of terrain, which is infinite. But I had about a half dozen buildings that I've 3D printed, and just trying to get some paint on them so I can get them on the table instead of sitting in a box for another 3 months. And then I just started a new box of natives, just to have. I've intentionally skipped natives for a long time as far as owning my own because I was trying to get my son involved, and he's got plenty of native models, and so I figured if I bought some, he would quit buying some. But I finally decided to buy in, and so I started into the native side of things.
North American or South American?
I started with just a plastic kit for now,
Okay.
but it'll push towards the North American most likely.
Top 2 tips for doing the native plastic box. Do you still have your sanity?
Do I still have? Oh, I mean, I've done technically 2 native boxes already. I did one just as to have a few, and then I did one and mostly converted it to maroons. Biggest one is don't use super glue. Use plastic cement, so you've got more work time to be able to get the 3 or 4 point contact pieces all set in the right place without getting glue all over your fingers. Some of those bows, or if you're trying to get 2 shoulders, 2 hands, a bow, and an arrow all set, is a little maddening.
Yeah, that was a little rough. It's not the easiest kit, but it's
If you don't care about it being 100% accurate, and you just want an arrow in one hand and a bow in the other hand, just go for it. It's not as bad, but trying to make it look a little more realistic, it can be a little fiddly.
I've not actually built bows out of that kit all that much. I wind up just playing it. Whenever I run natives with bows, I just pull out my Milicianos Indios models and just run those.
must be a Spanish player.
I've not actually done bows out of that kit yet. Yeah, you know me.
Yeah, I've got that set too, and I haven't put it together yet because I've heard it's a nightmare. But yeah, it doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun trying to hold all those parts together.
Yeah, I think it's gotten a bad reputation. It's definitely like the worst kit of all of them, but it's still like once you've done it a couple times, it's not that bad.
Yeah, and if you're using the 2-handed weapons or single one-off weapons, you're fine. It's really just the bows that are kind of the pain to me. Most of the 2-handed weapons are not terribly different than doing any of the other 2-handed weapons in sailors. Or the militia and soldiers are definitely a little bit more locked in by default, so it's harder to miss. The natives and the sailors are.
I made most of my kit with muskets, pistols, and melee weapons because there's so many archers in the resin and metal lines already. So, and the resin and metal look a little bit better because the arrows and bows have to be
poses are a little more dynamic.
Yeah, it's not bad. I did it without instructions the first time. I got along just fine, and without even labeled parts. It was a test sprue, and I had no instructions, no parts labeled. Just cut stuff out and made it work. It worked.
I will give the native sprue benefits for or kudos for that. Their hand poses, they're a little bit more flexible. You don't have to have this kit has to go specifically with this on a lot of their weapons, so you can get away with a little bit more. Some of them, if you didn't pay attention and you glued the wrong arms on the sailors because you got ambitious, you're going to get to change your weapon configurations.
At least they don't have different cuffs on every single arm, right?
Right.
Mhm. Well, did we have any reports of glory and shame that we want to talk about? Joseph, you're first on my
I
list.
missed a couple weeks because of other family events, anniversary trip, and my actual anniversary, wedding anniversary. So, but I got several games in. Been doing some more playtesting of some historical scenarios for this Rise of Buccaneers project, which has been pretty fun. I'll let Riley talk about one of those because he was part of that. I did a little invasion of Providencia Island, which I messed up one rule. It was a fortification game where the Buccaneers are jumping on the beach, and the Spanish have a stone tower fort, a gun emplacement, and a watchtower. And the guy was Brian playing against me. He's like, "So I just have to take one fortification to get a strike point, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." So he just peppered me as he came in, and then just killed my 4 little milicianos, my watchtower, and took it. And if that gave me a strike point, then I just struck out after like 2 turns after he took that. But watchtower doesn't give you a strike point. It's light and tiny enough fortification. So that was shame on me in double because I lost so bad, and I worked the rules. But I think it'll end up being a fine scenario if write down the rules correctly. I went to Infilad, a game convention up here in the Pacific Northwest with Riley and Brian and Don, a bunch of the guys in my area. Had a good time up there. Did a big fleet battle. 7 players, 1,000 points to a side. Got the galleons out. Got a couple new players, 4 souls, jumping in on a big game like that. I played my galleon at 400 points, Spanish Armada, blew some brigantines up a little bit, but it didn't quite finish the game, which felt kind of sad. But my galleon got boarded and was getting beat up pretty bad. So if we kept going, I was getting like triple teamed, and the other galleon was just doing against 1 player. So I was probably going down. It was kind of both flagships got taken. So that was an interesting game. You got to finish it. And then two other big games at Infilad. One was Plantation Raid. Adam Horton ran a cool game up there that I helped with. I provided 100 maroon miniatures for it. But I didn't actually get to play it because I was running a different game in a different room, which was disappointing. We did a Treasure Island scenario, which I thought was a lot of fun. Don worked up the design for that, made the island. We're all about islands over here right now. That was pretty entertaining. We had a gator running around the island chomping people, and
Hell yeah.
it was 8 players, 4 to a corner, or 2 to a corner, teams of 2, 100-point barks. Pretty small forces, but everybody had to jump on the island, dig up these objectives, roll on a chart to see what the objective was. Could be treasure, could be a booby trap, could be a alligator. And use a D6 system, so you had 2 through 12, and you was weighted towards the center for finding treasure. And but yeah, when you roll dice, we had like 12 objectives, and the gator was like number 4, and it got rolled like 5 times, just insane. Random, but so please pass the alligator became a often used phrase.
The real treasure was the gators we found along the way.
I wish I'd painted up my alligators from Port Royal. I had a gator from a couple of years ago, but he had to do a lot of work there to keep up with it. So I really, really, really like that scenario. Might bring it to Adepticon or another convention at some point. Happy with that one. That's me. Took up too much time, but played a lot of games. How about you, Riley? We got some of the same games, I guess.
Yeah, we got a couple same games. Just when I played a game for his Christopher Ming's expansion, and it was a 6th rate English ship trying to take out 2 Dutch flutes at the same time. The first run did not go very well. I think I bit off a little bit more than I could chew, and some of my maneuvering left a little bit to be desired. But
You played the
that
English.
one kind of that one kind of ended pretty bad. I played a second game of the same scenario, but I played one of the Dutch merchants, and that one went better, but pulled a win basically through a technicality, right, Joseph? Is it kind of a technicality?
It was a playtest game, so if according to the rules and according to the turn limit, you won. But we played one more turn, and then I won. So I think we both won. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. So kind of goes either way, but that was a fun one.
What was your force's name on the force sheet there?
That was I played Christopher Ming's victim number 2, and our buddy Brian played victim number 1. So yeah.
That was a fun scenario. It made you really think. It was hard to attack one ship and not let the other ship get away, and yet you can't cut your grapples until everybody's dead or captured. That was wild. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But that's about it. I didn't do a whole lot else. We did the Enflood convention, ran a couple demos, and those were pretty good. But it's been pretty quiet. So it's all for me.
How about you, Dan? Do you have anything?
As far as Glory and Shame, not really. We have been gearing up for we're doing a 9-week Port Royal campaign for Summer of Plunder. So it's been lots of testing and tweaking because we're starting with 40 pieces of bait to try and encourage people to bring some experienced commanders. And I think that we have it down. We're starting this Saturday. I might play a game tomorrow with my fiance because we're doing it kind of separately from them so we can submit games. But that's what basically we've been doing. Don't have anything of shame or glory, just still kind of learning the rules and figuring out how I like to play. But it's been a lot of fun. My group has taken a shining to Port Royal, and we're all having a lot of fun.
Or to see how that plays out. 9 weeks. That's going to be a pretty long campaign for Port Royal, isn't it? 9 games.
Yeah, two games a day. So we'll see 2 games every time we meet, and I had to lay
18
out
games.
rules. Yeah, I had to lay out.
You're
rules
going to
so
want to
if
reset.
I thought it was like a 6-game max or something, but I haven't even played yet, so don't listen to me.
But I had to lay out rules for like if you miss a week and you want to make up, you can play the solo rules, but all your advancements and everything have to be rolled in store the next time you show up. And it is a 2-game max per week. Yeah, no cheating, right?
I thought you were part of the pirate team.
I'm an admin this year, so I have no team. I get to watch everybody and point and laugh.
There you go.
But yeah, we're intending on pushing this rule system to its limit and seeing how far we get. And then we're working on getting a prize for whoever wins our campaign.
That was fun.
Don't know what that'll be yet, but it will. I'm sure there'll probably be one of the boxes or something, one of the new boxes. But we'll figure it out.
Yeah, Port Royal just got a bunch of little starter sets with like 6-7 minis and an objective. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, super stoked for them. What have you been up to, Garrett?
I just got back, literally just got back today from my, we had a Summer of Plunder kickoff party at my game store. And so I've been snacking on pork and drinking rum and eating strawberries and playing Blood
I'm
Plunder
so jealous.
most of the day.
That sounds awesome.
It was pretty great. We had 9 players at the store, so had 5 games going, or 4 games going at once. 5 games in total. I got to play the last game. For the first 4 games, I was just kind of walking around answering questions. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Had a new player come with his brother that has been playing with us, and he bought in on the spot with a bunch of Spanish stuff, so that was great. I think the store owner got back to me and said that he sold like $650 worth of Blood and Plunder stuff today. So it was pretty good. I think he did like a big special order that people were, putting in stuff for and actually paying for it there. So, just as good. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. And I played Spanish Army today, and they did pretty well. I played against a player that has been doing pretty well with North American Canadian militia, I think. And I think he misplayed a couple times with his movements. He could have gotten away from some of the charges that I was putting in to him with my Spanish soldiers, but he was going to be moving away from the objective, so it was kind of a win-win for me either way, So
You played at 100 points for the objective. How was the Spanish army at 100?
yes, yeah, it was good. I just have a 0-point commander, and I have a unit of 4 Soldados Reformados, a unit of 5 Soldados Reformados, a unit of 5 warriors with thrown weapons, and a unit of 5 Granaderos with sockets, no explosives, and downgrade to trained. So
That's a respectable force for 100 points, though. So that sounds good.
Yeah, a little light on guys, but still, it performed pretty well. At 100 points, sometimes things can go sideways with a really good dice
you
roll.
lose
so
3 guys in one unit.
Yeah, you lose. Yeah, you lose like 2 or 3 casualties, and you're like, oh, that unit's
Gone. Yeah.
almost gone. Yeah. What about you, Jason? Any playing?
I've gotten near 0
been
playtime
doing?
in, but I've been trying to press gang some folks. I've run 3 different Port Royal learn to play events in the last 2 weeks, and then we're starting a much shorter campaign, a 2-week 4-round campaign for Port Royal at the start of Summer Plunder, and then we're moving into Plunder. So not quite as ambitious as Dan's route, but it's been good. We've picked up at least 5 new players that have never played either game, just through the Port Royal side of things. So we'll see if we can press gang them all the way into Plunder eventually. And we've got a Oak and Iron event that we're going to do at some point too, to try to bring everybody into all 3 systems, get things going. And then the rest is just trying to prep for Summer Plunder in general, getting some of the behind the scenes spreadsheet stuff cleaned up or moved over from last year, and dealing with some of the new rules changes and getting the admin side rolling.
Yeah, I gotta say, a lot of prep has gone into Summer Plunder again this year. Thanks for doing so much of it. But when I was writing up a quick post for the beginning of it last night, or this morning, I should say, at 3 a.m., I was like linking all the things that people could look at, the rules, and then the call to arms, and the prizes that Dan has put together. And been a lot of prep, a lot of work. Hope people enjoy it.
Yep. Yeah, I was working on an FAQ article today, so hopefully we'll try to plug some of the gap. It's a big event. It's getting bigger every year, and so it's something we're just trying to make it as easy as possible to get people on board and up to speed. So
And still work.
and still work, yeah.
Okay, I don't really have anything living history wise that I need to talk about. Do you want to do peek behind the curtain, Joseph?
Just a quick update on the Rise of the Buccaneers project. It's getting pretty close, and I hate to name an actual month, but I said that.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
You'll jinx it.
Do it.
Don't do it.
It's
Mystery
a month
month.
adjacent to this month.
Soon. Firelock month. It's a one Firelock month.
So next
away.
April,
One
May of
Firelock
next
month
year?
away.
May of next year.
But we've gone through the whole project several times with the design team and cleaned stuff up and added some new stuff, and should be fun. It's going to be focused on early Buccaneering, 1650 to 1665 or so. So a lot of new characters, a couple new ships, several new factions, kind of tweaks on some old stuff, kind of narrow it into a more appropriate historical context, and a bunch of new sculpts. So that should be really fun for a Kickstarter. Coming to you soon, TM.
I'm excited to get that document finalized so we can start playtesting
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, Riley's been playtesting stuff with me for like a year.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like every time I print a list off, you guys change something, and I'm like, darn it.
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy part of playtesting. You try to get to know something, and then come back to it and it's all different. Like, oh, well, erase that out of my mind, and then you're trying to play it and like, getting old rules mixed up with new rules. It's a
I
challenge.
cannot
Yeah,
wait
it makes
for the new
it makes for
sculpts.
great demos.
Do you know what you're
I'm
doing?
trying to
Not
teach
really.
Port Royal, and I'm throwing out playtesting rules, and nope.
No, wait, that was cut. Sorry.
I cannot wait for the new ship, and I cannot wait for the new sculpts. I'm very excited to have more resin to add to my collection.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big lineup.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think we can go into our main topic now. So each of us has a different nation that we're going to go through. Some of us, we have two, but we're going to kind of go through and talk about the main gig, I guess, for the nations, kind of what they do best, what they play like. We'll go through what books you should maybe look at if you're wanting to play this nation, how you can buy into this nation, whether you want to go through the resin line or the plastic lines or other things like that. How easy they are to play for new players, how many people play this nation, major sea and land factions, and any legendary commanders that the nations might have. So to kick us off, Dan, let's talk about probably one of the most popular nations in the game, pirates.
Yeah, the pirates came out and raised the black. They're still, as they're at the point of this recording, still the new hotness, most recent addition to Plunder, as far as nations go. And if you like pirates, they represent historically exactly what these pirates are. These are going to be the pirates of Nassau. So the first thing first, you're going to want to get into the 2-player starter box. Comes with 24 sailors, 2 ships, the awesome Blackbeard sculpt, and then you can take the Maynard sculpt and either throw it out or cut his head off and hang it from your mast because you don't need him. But from there, that's a good start. From there, you can kind of fill out what you want. You can grab another box of militia to get you some much needed muskets. But otherwise, it is basically just sailors and dudes with muskets. They are pretty easy to get into. As far as their gimmick, they come very heavily armed. At this point in time, very cheap, but they suffer when it comes to resolve. Because these are guys who want to go out, attack unarmed fishing vessels, and take what they want, run away, and they don't really want to actually fight. However, on the tabletop, they could be very effective. I have been on the receiving end, and I have been the bulldozee of putting, to say, 40 pirates on a small boat and then just throwing them over the rails, not caring about casualties. It's great. Some good factions, the Flying Gang, are really good. They're more kind of English flavored, and they have some awesome historical commanders like Benjamin Hornigold and Jack Rackham. And if you bring Jack Rackham, you could bring Anne Bonny and Mary Reed. And if you bring them and you charge an opponent, they may not want to play with you anymore because it hurts. when the ladies charge, it hurts. The other most prominent one is Golden Age pirates. These are kind of your catch-all pirates. They don't have any restrictions on ships. They can bring whatever ship you want. But if you're the defender, you might be drunk, which is really silly and really fun. Some of my favorite legendary commanders, obviously Blackbeard, Edward Teach. His sculpt is very mean. You can bring the Queen Anne's Revenge, if you so choose, in larger games with him, in the form of the 6th-rate frigate. And he's just a boarding machine. He wants to get close and chop heads. And then the other one of note is Jack Rackham. He is very cheap, but also very lucky. He regenerates fortune if you spend it all on turn 1, and will get you more fortune coins every single turn. And he's really silly, really cheap. He's not an effective commander because he's only got 1 command point, but you get to bring the 2 girls with him, and they're great. If you like pirates, this is the faction you want to start with. And if you want to then customize your pirates, because a sailor is a sailor is a sailor as far as the game is concerned, if you get your 24 pirate sailors and you want to throw some resin sculpts in there, you can. Knock yourself out. Rule of cool. Find whichever sailor you like the best and just toss them in there. They'll fit the part and they'll look awesome.
Yeah, this is a horde faction if you like that thing. You can play it not as a horde, but I don't see too many people ever doing that.
The 3-point pirates are just too tempting.
Yeah, they're just too good. And you have I think really the intentional flavor for this faction was bad units, but with really good commanders.
Yeah.
And I think what it wound up being was a pretty like I'm not going to call them like great, but a pretty good unit with really good commanders. So,
Well, the pirate unit does have bad stats, but they have good
Yes.
weaponry, and that was intentional, and that's
right.
so they function well if you use them carefully. It's fun to have all the household name pirates available to you.
Right.
And it's just fun when a 3-point model
I like
dies.
Dan being a little bit salty about the historical fate of Blackbeard and trying to flip that on Maynard there. I
I mean,
caught that.
I just speak the truth, man. It was a totally illegal action. What can I
Totally
say?
illegal.
Totally illegal.
It's illegal all the way
It's a
around.
360 no scope of illegalness, if you catch my drift. I think I turned Maynard into a Dutch officer after thinking about it. I think I took that sculpt and made him Dutch.
I mean, he's pretty nondescript. You could just make him into a sailor.
Yeah,
He's not super commander-esque.
he's really good at hiding.
Or like a Reformado or something, you know.
I think a really great purchase after that 2-player starter box is the Pirates of Legend box. It gives you Bonnie and Reed plus a bunch of other well-known pirates.
Yes, thank you for that.
Give your
Oh yeah,
cruise
those
character.
are good sculpts too.
Works really great with a plastic sloop too. So if you want to go on the affordable side of things, that sloop is really cheap and it works well for the pirates, and kit goes together fine. Great place to run for a long time if you like those 18th century pirates. The whole game is about piracy, technically, sort of, but this is kind of the 18th century golden age pirates, where a lot of the game is focused a little bit further back on the buccaneers, which are could be also classified as pirates, but for the purpose of the game division, the better pirates, game division, this is pirates, and that's what they call pirates, where the other ones are lumped in with their nationalities, other nationalities.
Pirates, privateers, corsairs, they're all cut from the same cloth. I know that you're chomping at the bit, Garrett, to go over your flagship nationality. Would you like to get into the empire of the New World, the Spanish?
Sure, yeah. So the Spanish in this game, I think, are very interesting from the very beginning. They were, I think they had the most units, individual units of the different nations. I always say that they are the most varied in what weapons that they can use. A lot of people say, I guess from the beginning, the Spanish were kind of the horde faction. I never really understood why people said that at the beginning, because they had the Miliciano, and he was just like every other militia guy, so I didn't really get that. I don't look at the Spanish as being kind of a horde faction. I look at them being a very specialist faction a lot of times. And if you like to play interesting rules that are not always good, you like the Spanish as well. Like poorly equipped, or some of the new factions that are coming out are going to be really up your alley with the Spanish city garrison and Armadillas. But books that you can look at for the Spanish, you wanna get the original core book and No Peace Beyond the Line. And Raise the Black also has a lot of Spanish stuff. 18th century Spanish after the French influence, the Bourbon reforms that went into the military. The Spanish army factions that I talked about before are really good. All those books have tons of Spanish stuff, and you can do the 2-player starter set with the Spanish very easily. It gives you your ships. It gives you a lot of plastic marineros to build. You can build those with the pikes from the plastic kit to make them into lanceros. So there's a lot of flexibility there, and you can absolutely make a Spanish force out of that 2-player starter set. But you can also do the resin route. So the Spanish resin starter set comes with Milicianos, 8 of them, 8 Lanceros, and I believe 4 Marineros and 4 Milicianos Indios. And that is another route that you could go. There's also been recently a wealth of new Spanish sculpts that have come out. The Hostigadores and the Corsarios have been out for a little while now, and they are awesome. The Spanish are a little bit difficult to play because you have to play around some of those poorly equipped rules, and you have to really think about how you're going to work their special rule that is in nearly all of the Spanish lists, Ruthless, into it. Ruthless is really what you have to think about when you're playing the Spanish to make them really good a lot of times. And Ruthless, what that is you're putting fatigue on your enemy, and that makes your tests, your shoot tests and your fight tests better when you're fighting against them.
Kick them while your enemy while they're down.
Kick them while they're down, yes. You want to bring in a lot of units a lot of time. The bow units that the Spanish can get really help you with that a lot of times, because that gives you that extra fire rate to get more fatigue checks, to get that ball rolling on the fatigue, to get fatigue on your enemy, so that Ruthless kicks in on your other more hard-hitting models. But let's see, people playing this nation, I think a lot of people probably own Spanish minis, because you look at getting into the game and you're thinking about getting 2 armies, and you're like, okay, well, I want to get this army that I like. It's like you say, okay, well, I want to get into the English, but I also want to get someone for the English to fight. Who am I going to get? Well, obviously you're going to get Spanish. Like that's a no-brainer. So it's a lot of people's either first or second army, I would say, a lot of the time. Major land and sea factions, I would say one of my favorites from No Peace Beyond the Line for a sea faction is Armada de Barlovento. If you want the 18th century version of that, you go with Spanish Armada. Both of those factions are really good to start with if you want to start Spanish at sea. If you're going to go boarding route, you might want to go Spanish the Corsarios.
That's a mean list.
Land factions.
That's a mean list, the Spanish Corsairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Corsairs. I'm not a boarder, so I've not really played them that much. It's not something that I've really explored yet, so I can't speak to them. But just looking at their lists, yes, Fernando could probably, if he was on here, could probably talk about those a lot. So land factions, we have. I think the number one land faction that as a new player you should probably play is just Spanish Militia. Whether you do the OG Spanish Militia from No Peace or reformed Spanish Militia from the 18th century, Raise the Black Book. That gives you so much variety in weapons and different units that you could take that the list building options are almost endless. And that's one of the things that I really love about the Spanish nation is the list building options, and it's just fun to play with all these different weapons and how you can combine them on the battlefield to move towards victory. So for legendary commanders, you have Pardal, who was famously the guy that challenged Morgan and failed spectacularly. He's got a fun special rule that plays with that. And then you have Juan Corso. He plays a lot with like surprisal at sea, I think is one of his special rules. He's also got like a vendetta against everybody, so that's fun. Vendetta Dutch, Vendetta French. Oh, I thought he had Vendetta English. Oh no, yeah, he does. It's just it's out of line with the rest of them on the Force Builder. But yeah, Vendetta English and Vendetta Dutch, Vendetta French. Surprisal at Sea. He's got a ton of stuff, and he's also got a 16-inch command range with three command points. So, and the other legendary commander is Amaro Pargo. He's on that. He's a plastic kit off of the Pirates of Legend. He's like the only Spanish guy on there. But he is super fun. If you take a 3-deck ship with him, he can fill one of the decks with heavy guns. So a lot of interesting fun lists with heavy guns you can use with him. So
He can blow
that
people up.
is he can blow people up, and I have done that with him. And sometimes it doesn't feel all that great when you do it against somebody that doesn't really know what's coming. I demasted someone on like the first turn, and I was like, I am so sorry, but I'm gonna get you again.
And the hits just keep on coming.
I'm so sorry, but my guns are loaded again. So, and I see that you've not fixed your mast yet. But I've rambled long enough. If anybody else wants to add anything.
Spanish was my first faction getting into Blood and Plunder. And yeah, they're really fun. You have all these, each unit is like a different tool, a very different tool, and you have to combo them correctly to make them all work. But if you lose one of your tools, you could find yourself short. If you lose that one range unit, it's supposed to do the killing or soften up the unit you want to charge with your Lanceros. Yeah, I found myself, I have no ranged units with my Spanish because the 2 units I had with range got shot down. So they're a bit of a high risk, high skill cap faction, I think. And some of the units just seem worse than other units of the same class. But if you combo everything right, you can get a lot of power out of them. And I really like that. And that variety and force building is a big strength as far as picking them as your faction for a hobby like this.
Yeah, I don't think don't take anything that I say about them being a little bit more difficult to play as they're not like good for a starting faction. I think they're good for a starting faction. It's just you might struggle with them a little bit, so be patient with them.
Yeah, for replayability, I think the Spanish are definitely up in the top tier for that.
Yeah, but almost as many faction as the Dutch, right?
Moving on.
Almost.
We'll get there.
So the English are a really good faction to go along with the pirates. They're the second faction that is in the Blackbeard versus Maynard set. Like Dan had mentioned earlier, they're if you get that kit and you decide to play English, you can easily use those sailors, that second set of sailors, to make your English a little bit bigger. They also have a good other couple sets like the English Nationality Starter set and the North American English Militia faction. The units are really good at managing fatigue, which makes them really useful for kind of strong arming things into happening. You can get away with a lot of charges that you probably shouldn't. If you take some casualties you'd think that you normally would break and you don't because of your good fatigue. A lot of their other stats are just good enough. Nothing terribly great. It's mostly just their fatigue that they're really well known for. They have a lot of named commanders for both sea and land games. A lot of ones like Henry Morgan and William Kidd, Benjamin Hornigold, Henry Jennings, the type of pirate hunters. They also have a good balance of expensive units and cheap units. Stuff like English Militia that are 3-point terrible models. And then you have stuff like the Forlorn Hope, who are a little bit more expensive, but tend to be worth it. But
terrible models for English Militia. You better not let Jaden hear you say that. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't
Dying.
think they're that bad.
They are
No,
good
yeah,
at dying, yeah.
They're good when they actually succeed at something. You feel very proud of them. But the English militia, North American English militia set is really good if you plan on doing land-based battles. If you know that you're more that style, they come with a lot of different models. That's usually how I end up playing them, is doing land battles a lot of the time. But the English nationality starter set is good for doing more sea-based stuff. And then, of course, you have your plastics, and you can use the other plastic kits to supplement that sort of stuff if you lean one way or the other.
There's a lot of English stuff. Being a North American-based game and focusing on America, there's just always English stuff to explore. So they have a lot of force-building options and a lot of named commanders, because the history is so easy to come by, or English speakers. So there's lots of interesting characters, and every book has a lot of English stuff in it.
Yeah, the English to me are kind of the jack of all trades. So they can do pretty much anything you want and be massaged into whatever list you need. So it's probably one of the best starter factions, I think. Plus, it's more of the Spanish and English both are very iconic and familiar for more Americans, I think.
And you can pronounce all the words and names. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
For the English, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They have one of the first legendary models, Henry Morgan, which you can't really beat. Super fun rules for him. He can kind of outthink people, but you have to use that earlier 17th century stuff. But that's a really iconic model and really fun force to play. That's in the core rulebook and an Opus in the line. What's the other English commander? Oh, William Kidd. A lot of people know that name. He's an interesting force. He has a heavily built ship, so he's really good at sea. And then in Fire on the Frontier, you have Benjamin Church, which is really good on land. He worked his way up real high in the tournament at Adepticon. Works with Native Americans. Just a super solid faction. Gets rid of fatigue, and then it's quite good because I was ruthless at the same time, and they have quick, and they can zoom around the table, and they can have Indian allies. Really good. And then Maynard, the legendary, the black, which he needs to be there, right, Dan? But he's not my favorite.
Yeah.
He's good at laying on the ground on his ship, not get killed, and then jumping up and
He's good at being a
Yes.
coward.
Well, I mean, I don't know
Sure,
about
he keeps your troops alive.
Yeah,
How about that?
he tries.
He is the hide and seek champion 1718.
There you go. And his model's pretty cool. He looks pretty generic, but if you like kind of that, when people think of pirates, they've seen too much Pirates of the Caribbean, more than is healthy for them. So they have the red coat lobster back, mid 18th, late 18th century picture in their minds, and you can do that with the English, which is a lot of fun. But and Maynard lets you kind of do that English Navy kind of stuff. They got really good
Regulars performed
cannons.
very well at Adepticon.
They got really good
The demos,
soldiers.
Regulars did very well.
Yeah. And the other thing that's really got it, just not dying. They have really good fight save. So once they get into melee, they don't hit as hard either, but they just hard to knock down. Really good, forgiving faction for newer players. They can do everything. Their resolve is good, so they aren't going to spend a lot of time just rallying your troops. And if you get in a pickle, at least you're good at not dying.
That's one thing that I didn't mention about the Spanish that now I can't believe that I didn't mention about the Spanish. They're good at melee. Like, they're the melee faction.
Yeah.
You talk about the English having good fight saves. Spanish are pretty similar with their fight saves, but they also hit really hard in melee. So
Milicianos
Anyway.
do best when they finally get into melee.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I fight against the English quite a bit. They are frustrating at times to play against because of that fatigue management that they do so well. The tough nerf got them a little bit, but tough is still a pretty good rule, I think. I don't think that tough nerf got like killed tough in any way. If you play the English, you're still going to be really good at taking fatigue and dealing with it.
It's a huge part of the game.
Mm-hmm. It is. It really is. Yeah, everybody's got to do it because you're going to take fatigue. It's how you manage it is something that may be on an upcoming podcast. Who knows?
We have a whole video about fatigue management. It's the most boring title ever.
But it's very important.
Harry?
It is. It is.
Let's switch over to the Dutch real quick. The Dutch are the sea-focused faction or nation of the group. That's their main speciality. They have, to me, the best sailors in the game, the Unaligned.
That's a fact.
That is a fact. So
I would say that's the fact. Yeah, as
True
well.
fact?
yeah. It is a true fact. They're so good that every other faction has access to them as a support unit because everybody wants to hire them as mercenaries.
Just
So,
thought they had
I
no
mean,
standards.
does Unaligned
and
have-
work for anybody, but okay.
Well, that too. Money's money, you know. They have expert artillery crew, so you get a free reload on a heart or a spade. They have expert sailors, so anything you want to do with advanced maneuvers, they're going to get that extra bonus. And then if needed, they've got hard chargers, so when the boarding starts happening, you can jump off the cannons and then charge in and back up the rest of your crew. As a whole, they I would say probably 60% of their factions are geared towards sea, maybe more than that. Some of the land ones actually work just as well at sea. For sea, I think Dan and I would both probably say the Dutch privateers or Dutch Marine are very similar, both good for boarding. Boarding and cannons are probably the best two options with the Dutch.
Yeah.
Interplogue is probably the most elite boarding focused type unit. They've got they started a fight of 5 and a resolve of 4, so they're not going to get fatigued, and they've got free explosives, so they're going to throw smoke over, stall the enemy, and then you just grapple and rough them up. And they can charge to their own smoke with that 4 resolve, and just they don't really care.
They're brutal.
As a whole, they're probably the most basic faction, so it's in my opinion, it's a decent starter faction, and if you don't play with a whole lot of frequency, the Dutch are great because once you get the core mechanics down, there's seven factions versus almost 20, I think, in the Spanish.
I think the Dutch have some sub-factions that almost work like normal factions, though, right? Like they've got half factions in there.
They have a couple that are half, so they've got, the Dutch Caribbean militia they have some sub factions where you can take them all horses, or you can take some subs that will give you some nuance. But
Like
it's
the Dutch
definitely as a whole is
privateers,
a little bit more limited.
they have two
others.
ways to play them. They aren't really a forced option, but it's like you get to choose this or that. One's really good at not losing. One's really good at coming into melee contact. So there's like 2 ways to play a lot of the factions. But some of those overlap with each other. So when you play the Dutch Navy and the Dutch privateers, you can play them with similar rules, but you do have 2 ways to play each one.
Yeah, and I was specifically talking about the Dutch Caribbean militia, where you had, and I know some of the Spanish factions have this too, to where you can change up how you're playing them, but you have like Dutch Frontier Patrol that work a lot more like a backwoods faction, and then the Dutch West India Company garrison that really is more like their army faction, really. So you have the normal Caribbean militia faction, and then you've got some half factions in there that you can play around with as well. Same thing for like Jewish militia and, like you said, the mounted patrol.
Yeah, the Jewish militia, to me, post errata for the No Peace Beyond the Line, prior to the No Peace Beyond the Line errata, I never played Jewish militia because I felt like they were 4 points for a militia unit and they were overrated, or 5 points, I think. And now they've been dropped down to 4 points, and a 4-point trained militia is a solid unit because you've got drilled and tough, which puts them in line with the English militia, but they're trained rather than inexperienced, and they have a little bit better staying power. So I've gotten to where I've started sticking Jewish militia in way more faction or any options that I have as a good support unit.
And the Dutch Caribbean militia, No Peace Beyond the Line version, you could take Jewish militia as a core unit.
Yep.
So
yeah, I think
if
for
you
a
want a lot of them, that's the one you take.
For a starter nation, if you're just getting into the Dutch, the Raise the Black Dutch Caribbean militia is probably the best all around. It's a good, flexible faction. It's meant to be more land-based woodsy, but you can push it into sea pretty easily. As far as legendary commanders, as of right now, they have just the one, and you should totally pick the Dutch because everything is super easy to pronounce. Not so much. Not as bad as the French, but Piet Hein, he used to be, and I think he may still be, the most expensive commander in the game. He has a lot of special rules. He's very good at what he does, but he's hard to get on the table at a low point game because he's 42 points,
36.
something 36. Like that. Oh, that's right. He got dropped.
Yeah, I think he
got
down
dropped,
recently.
but he's still pretty high. 36 is hard to get on the board.
Still might be the most expensive.
Yeah, he's still the most expensive.
But he did do the most impressive thing in history.
He's the only one that successfully took the Spanish treasure fleet.
The entire thing.
So he's got his own statue, and he lives on in infamy. But he's one that's fun to play when you get to it. He's a little hard to get on the table in the beginning, but once you get him on there, every chance you get to, it's fun to do. He's got a lot of rules to keep track of, though. I think he's got 6 or 7 abilities, so he's definitely not a beginner commander by any means. A lot of the Dutch commanders have kind of this generic -1 of strict, so you can take a fatigue on the command unit to give everybody with that command point a -1 to hit, and you can stick that on pretty much any test. So it's a handy ability. You just bolster your command unit with some anti-fatigue measures and make sure you're using your inspiring rallies and things to keep that up. But you just keep yelling at your guys and keep telling them to shoot faster and hurt more people.
Quick correction, the fatigue goes on the unit you're targeting. Motivated does the command unit, and then strict does the command.
Oh, no, yeah, sorry, I said that backwards.
Yeah.
You know what I meant.
Yep.
You can give them a fatigue to fight. You're yelling at them, lowering their morale to make them fight harder.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
which can get you in a real pickle if you take too much fatigue. So it's kind of like you're hurting yourself to hurt your enemy. You hope you hurt them faster.
Nothing will make your opponent cry more is when you use strict on a unit to enter Plogue that are already in combat and they're hitting on 4s with brace of pistols.
Yeah.
Sounds easy for the French, but okay.
Strict is fun to use once you get your head wrapped around it.
Yeah.
You just got to manage your own fatigue well.
I think an unintended positive for the Dutch being a smaller faction for new players is they're a little less overwhelming as well. Like you look at their factions lists and you say, okay, well, this is what I want to do, and I don't have to look through that many all that much stuff to get to what I want to do. And so I think that's going to be a positive for some people. It's probably a negative for other people, but
as someone who's
is.
logged a lot of hours behind the Dutch, and I started playing the game with the Dutch privateers are actually probably my most played faction if I'm really thinking about it. But for being the smallest European power in the book, and then like globally at this point in time, I do feel like a lot of their units do punch above their weight.
Yeah, I think.
Well, and
this is a stupid analogy, but if you're looking at the Avengers, the Dutch are Hulk. he does one thing and he does it really well. He just smashes stuff, and the Dutch are very good at smashing stuff.
I'm gonna make a meme of that.
And I think in this time in the historical context of Blood and Plunder, the Dutch had already kind of given up on a mass colonization. And so they had moved into more of a, okay, we're just going to be trading and raiding, basically. And so they didn't have a big presence in the New World at this time. Their time was really in the early 17th century rather than the late 17th century and the early 18th century. So that's kind of why they're not a whole lot, but
If Blood and Plunder moves back another couple decades, they could have a lot more
Or east.
material
yeah,
available.
there's a lot more to pull from back then. Yeah, but they're still like they're great. They're a great nation, and I'm glad that they're in the game. Like I really would. It would be a big hole in the game if the Dutch were not a part of the
I
game.
mean, the best Spanish naval faction is the Austin Privateers with its Dutch units with Ruthless, right?
Yeah, you can play Spanish and Dutch at the same time.
That is true. If you were going to buy into the Dutch, of course, I think with any of the European factions, the 2-player Blackbeard starter box is probably the go-to recommendation. The Dutch, there are a few head options that are a little bit more Dutch flavored, but if you want more of the Dutch style, the Dutch starter set is probably a good supplemental. If you bought the 2-player starter and you've got the sailors from something else, and Dutch is your second faction, I would probably look at still going ahead and doing the Dutch starter. It'll give you more Zeeleiden and Interplogue, and it still focuses more on capers than I'd or coppers rather. To be accurate for the name. But the coppers in there work great as European sailors with some Dutch flair. So there's no reason not to take those.
The Dutch have some of the more unique fashion flavor in the game, so getting those models that are sculpted after that is fun. Just makes them look a lot very much different than the rest of the models on the table.
They are my favorite sculpts aesthetic wise.
Yeah, the Interplogue are definitely more unique, I think, than a lot of the other. I mean, they're not sailor focused, but they're that naval focus. Their clothing is much more baggy. They've got wider brimmed, almost not quite top hats, but they're borderline early top hats. Yeah. And then plenty of axes to go around, which I like the boarding aspect, or the boarding axe aspect. The Milady unit is it's got a little bit of a unique Dutch look to it, so pick up a couple of 4-packs of that, and I think you're good to go.
Really strong unit too. It's unique among all the militia class units because it has a 7 shoot save versus an 8. Yep. So Dutch militia is just more survivable. Really great for land games or sea.
Yeah, I always considered those also to be styled a lot more towards this early 17th century as well.
Yeah, they're all matchlocks, and they're they got the 12 apostles hanging around the reloads. As far as flavor, if you wanted it to be historically accurate, you could buy a ship. Your second ship, I would probably go either a resin sloop or a frigate. As a step up from the Bermuda sloop, but historically, and everybody's going to pronounce this wrong, or I'm going to say it wrong, but Floit, I think, is the right term. It supposedly rhymes with toy, Floit. The Floit historically is a big, wide, shallow draft ship. It is an amazing musket platform. If you take a list To me, the best use of that is you use your elevated firing positions, load it up with muskets, and shoot the snot out of people. And then if they come to board you, you pretty much force everybody but a galleon to climb you. So you can either hold out longer or just defend yourself a little bit better. It's a little slow. It's a tugboat, but if you're just a musket platform, you're really not trying to hurry to catch them. If you are going to go with a boarding list, you can go sloop of war or privateer sloop and do a brig just for the speed. But there are a few options. The Floyd is more of a slow, plodding, consistent, either medium guns or a musket platform. If you're going boarding, push your speed up to 5 as fast as you can. Take freshly careened hull. Take a sailing mast or anything you can do to get that speed up so you can get up in their face, jump over the decks, and just start smashing people.
Okay. If we want to move on to French, we can.
Say the line, Joseph.
Overpowered French. I'll take the French, even though I'm not their champion. I played quite a bit of them. French are interesting because they have kind of two distinct areas: the Canadian, kind of more winter themed, or at least North American themed, and the Caribbean, and they do play a little bit different. Overall, at least the core design for the French is kind of a kind of where they hit really hard, but they don't like getting hit themselves. They have a really good shoot, really good fight, hard chargers, that kind of stuff, but their saves are not very good, and their resolve always very good. So if you can keep the initiative, if you can hit first, hit hard, no mercy, that kind of thing, pretty well. They got pretty good equipment too. Their militia, their Caribbean militia was unique among the first generation of the game because they have a pistol and a bayonet and a buccaneer gun. They cost a little bit more. And then the Canadian version kind of is fast, elusive, kind of more of an American Indian approach to things, where they're good at not dying. They can hit pretty hard, but they're better. They enjoy just shooting you to death and not dying themselves. More, they're very mobile. They have some quick units that can get free moves, and then several of their factions have free move you can use once per turn, which lets you do some really unexpected, interesting things. And it's a really fascinating way to play. I really enjoy that. Sea side of things, they're very well equipped. They're good boarders, kind of like, except not quite as insane coming in, and maybe not as good at a resolve. One of their flagship units is the Filibuster, which has a brace of pistols and a buccaneer gun. So quite deadly and well-rounded for shooting or boarding or sailing. On land, they have that free move all the time. The French Caribbean Militia is kind of flagship faction, and then several variations on the Canadian North American force. New France Garrison is the name of one of the factions. There's a starter box force, or easy to grab that. It has Indians in it, or the Canadian Militia, and they're just really good at shooting and hiding in cover. Legendary options, they have the Olene, a ruthless buccaneer commander from the second half of the 17th century. Really fun model. And hard-hitting force, kind of combines the strengths of the French and a little bit of the Spanish kind of flavor with that ruthless faction. We have Laurens de Graaf, which is a Dutchman who fought for the... Overall, French artillery isn't that great in the game. They don't have much access to expert artillery crews that let you reload so much faster, or in meaningful ways at least. But his whole force gets that, and he has expert broadside. So if you want to blow stuff up with cannons, de Graaf, and he has a great career and story as far as a buccaneer goes. And then we got Iberville, who is from North America side of things, although he went up the whole American coast, and he's just kind of solid good at everything, and he comes in Fire on the Frontier, and I don't think there was a legendary commander Raise the Black. If you like the French at sea, Raise the Black and No Peace Beyond the Line have great options for you. No Peace Beyond the Line has that really strong French buccaneer kind of style. And then Raise the Black has more of the North and some Caribbean style stuff. And then there's a little book, Fire on the Frontier, that focuses on the North American conflict, King William's War, that has quite a bit of several factions and several interesting commanders, focus on North American style and a lot of Indian allies. So there's 3 great books to pick up. All the expansions really have good French stuff. If you're going to buy in, you can certainly jump in with the 2-player starter sets, your best value. Get sailors and a ship, 2 ships, and all your accessories. And there's 2 French nationality boxes. The original, that is more Caribbean flavored, really great for land, and it can be pushed to sea pretty easily. And then there's the New France Garrison box that has the North American style. One of the claims to fame is the Bouquenet model, which is the best sniper in the. So if you really like musketry, that's strength. They have the marksman and that really low shoot save that helps always get hits. One of my favorite units. So there's a lot going on. They cover a wide range of styles of forces, but glass cannon is my best one-line description.
Okay. I play French occasionally, and I just like the fact that they shoot pretty well. It's kind of what I want to do whenever I want to play a game where I just kind of try to find a good spot to get in and then just unload on somebody and try to destroy them through musketry.
You can make a really great gun line style of force with the French Canadian militia. They got 6 shoot and marksman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if you're coming from 40K, the French to me are the Eldar of the game. They're high mobility, and then the they're a bit of a glass canyon, a little more elite flexibility type.
They're very ride or die.
Yeah, for sure. And they have all sorts of names that are
Again,
hard to
if you want
pronounce.
to play French,
Hands down the hardest to pronounce.
just like the Dutch, if you want to play French and Spanish at the same time, there is the Franco-Spanish Alliance faction that is in the Spanish faction. So it's very
Garrett
good.
over here, like, oops,
This
all Spain.
podcast is a recruitment scenario for the Spanish.
Well, you remember, Jason, when I was playing you last with the Franco-Spanish Alliance, I think, right?
Yes, but if I weren't answering so many questions as the TO, I might have gotten more time and it changed the last round.
Are we about to run an ad for the Spanish for Summer of Plunder?
I think
that game, I think I just beat you like purely on dice.
Yeah.
Like that was just I was just rolling up and just rolling like broad or musket shots like crazy into you. So, but yeah, they're fun. Those bouquinier are fun. I recently played a game with bouquinier and a Brethren of the Coast list and got my shoot down to a 3 at point blank range, and that was a great time for me, but not for my opponent, really.
Yeah, they can do crazy things with numbers.
The bouquinier are expensive, but I like pushing them to the limit, and that's one of the few units that I would like taking a veteran unit, just because of the action economy is just insane. They have fast reload, so you're going to want to pump them on a spade, and then by taking that vet, you get that extra action to just keep pumping shots out at really high volume.
If you put a command point on, they can do 4 actions a turn, so they can even shoot twice if you need to, or do a half shoot and half shot, or super great unit.
So Unaligned, it's not. I hesitate to call this a nation because it's all just a little. It's all just some mini
Minor
nations
powers
put
is a
together.
good description too.
Minor powers, yeah. So for Summer of Plunder, all of the piratey things from Unaligned got moved to the pirate nation. Stuff like Logwood Cutters, Last Buccaneers, Brethren of the Coast, stuff like that. So that stuff is all there. I don't remember if Dan talked about that stuff really, but it's a lot of your OG Buccaneer models. Logwood cutters and Baymen, I think, are pretty similar, but they're really interesting. They roll on a table before you start the game. I think if you're the defender, or maybe even if you like, it doesn't matter.
It's
pull them up.
if you're
Defender.
the defender.
The defender, okay, so you might be drunk, or you could be, other things. I don't know exactly what's on the table, but that's always fun to not know how you're going to be fighting, or how fit you're going to be before a game starts. Brethren of the Coast are sort of a Buccaneer faction that encompasses all of the French, English, and Dutch Buccaneers into one, kind of, and they have kind of their own special characters and stuff that you can play with, so those are fun. Then the minor powers, so they all kind of have weird things that they do. Like the Portuguese have the thing everybody knows about the Portuguese is they can take the cheap cavalry for core, and for some reason they're drilled. so you can do that. Portuguese also have Milicianos Indios. You could put muskets on them that are really good. Yeah, Portuguese are super fun. If you like, let's see, there's the Swedish faction
militia.
that I think, the Swedish militia. I think that's the only faction that has European pikemen as core. So that's weird.
Veteran pikeman.
But if you,
You can do
Do what?
veteran pikeman if you want to do that to yourself.
vet pikemen.
Squeeze
I
like their
think
pikes.
somebody in Adepticon 2024, somebody did pretty well with the Swedish militia in the
Maybe you
tournament, and they had a bunch of pikemen.
I think his name was
Yeah, yeah,
Patrick.
yeah.
I talked with him on Facebook sometimes.
Werner,
But yeah, he gave me that salted black liquor stuff.
Yeah, he was Swedish, which I think is a requirement to play this faction, that you actually have to be Swedish, but like to do well with it, I guess. Let's see, Danish militia. I've played around with them a little bit. They have the option to take the Burger Guard. So if you want an extra unit of European soldiers, which European soldiers are pretty nice, the 17th century European soldiers, they can take an extra one of those as core, so you can put your commander with it. They also everybody gets tough, so that's really good. So yeah,
The Dutch in this list.
that's kind of neat.
You're forgetting the most important one. The Scottish.
I'm not forgetting them. Oh, well, I'm not forgetting them. I'm just like trying to come up with how they're weird. Everybody gets quick, so
Yeah.
that's something.
Scottish
that's-
militia, everybody
that's-
gets quick and brawlers, so we're just going to charge in your face and
Yeah.
start smashing
Punching.
things.
Yeah. I know Jaden plays them a lot, and he likes to do the cheap cavalry with them. So
Yeah, he takes
there's just a lot of
English militia backbone
what-
and
what
cavalry.
are you gonna say?
English militia backbone and cavalry, a bunch of inexperienced units, and just push them as fast as you can and get in somebody's face and start stabbing things.
There's Brandenburg privateers. I have no idea what the hell that's about, but they're here. It says when taking a strike test, this force's commander may roll 2 d10s as a result. And choose the result. That's something. But yeah, there's just a lot of weird stuff. There's also a lot. I think the main attraction for the Unaligned for people recently have been the Maroons. This is where you find Maroons. And I've been playing Maroons a little bit lately, and they are super fun. I feel like they are a super elite force, which makes sense. The Maroon communities didn't have a lot of people to spare, and they wanted to have their warriors be very effective. And so, yeah, and there's a lot of underneath the Maroon faction, there's 3 different options that kind of give them that half faction feel for the different the Brazilian, the Jamaican, and the Suriname Maroons. So yeah, other people can jump in and chime in for things that I left out, but there's a lot to cover for Unaligned, and if you want to get into Unaligned, just get guys with muskets and sailors. I feel like you don't want to start at Unaligned unless you want to really focus in on something. Like if you say, okay, I really want to focus in on the Portuguese, or I really want to focus in on Maroons. Unaligned isn't something that you're just going to say, I'm going to play Unaligned. You got to have a plan going in a little bit, because there are a lot of different directions you can take this.
Yeah, it's mostly
Oh,
it's more like a miscellaneous faction, and each one of these factions is actually thematically and visually more aligned. A different nation, but it's kind of a catch-all.
The Brandenburg privateers are modern day Germany. That's where they come from.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Just wanted to put that in there.
But yeah, you can do anything from a really good navy or a really good army faction to Maroons or Black Caribs. So, and militia in between, or Brotherhood of the Coast with Engineers. Got a little bit of everything. Or pirates, the original 17th century pirate faction. Anything you want.
You want to touch on your specialist most favorite boys, Joseph?
I'll keep it short. The Native Americans, kind of split into 2 camps as well. The North American and Caribbean. If you want to play Caribbean, get No Peace Beyond the Line. If you want to play North American, there's some of that in No Peace Beyond the Line, but they're kind of focused on in Fire on the Frontier and Raise the Black. Fire on the Frontier is all the Northeast stuff. Raise the Black includes Northeast stuff and a good bit of Southeast stuff. Southeast America, North America. Native Americans are actually a little bit similar to French, where they hit hard, but they don't like getting hit themselves. They have bad fatigue management or resolve. Natives are kind of a high skill, high risk, high reward. They can hit really hard. They have a lot of combos you can put together, but if you don't really know what you're doing, you're going to struggle. You got to kind of study them. People I know have made spreadsheets of all the things they got to get everything in. There's a lot of factions, but not very many units. So you don't have to get very many models, but you have a lot of different factions available to you. I mean, Native Americans cover so many different groups, all the way from Canada down to South America. So a lot of different weird factions, and a lot of factions have their special rules where you only have a handful of units to work with, but each faction puts a twist on those units. It's a little bit different style of design for the natives than the other main nationalities in Blood Plunder. There's quite a few commanders, but not the wealth of them that you see in like French and English, Spanish, just because there are not as many written records. So there's some really good and fun characters, but not nearly as many. There's different versions of some factions, which can be a little bit mind-boggling, like the Wabanaki, big Northeastern American faction. They come in No Peace Beyond the Line and Fire on the Frontier and Raise the Black, and the same theme, but just a little bit different. So watch out for that. You can get crazy combos. You can get your shoots and fights down to 3s and 2s and crazy stuff like that if you go all in. So this is kind of a min-max faction, if you will. You can do that, at least with them. They aren't that great at sea. You got your canoes and piraguas, but most factions can't take ships, and even if a couple of them can, but they aren't very good at managing those ships. So if you like to explore a lot of different combo matching and things like that, if you like to destroy people with combos and break their goals with your big clubs, natives are great. And if you like to make people not like you, you can study the natives for a long time and play some really
powerful lists in games.
I enjoy them. Natives, legendary real quick. They only have 2 legendary. King Philip, which is Northeast, and King Golden Cap, which is South Caribbean. And both of those are really good factions. King Golden Cap, he has tough on all those guys, which makes it stand out from all the other ones.
So, Summer of Plunder is going on right now. Join the Discord if you want to know about your nation's commander's wishes. If you don't want to know about your nation's commander's wishes, then go out and do whatever you
Play
want.
some games.
The world is your oyster.
Log them.
Yeah.
Watch for the updates. Fun to see pictures, games, and people across the world.
We have events coming up. We have Historicon, July 15th through the 20th, and in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We also have Gen Con. I will be at Gen Con July 31st through August 3rd in Indianapolis, Indiana. Both Jason and I will be at NashCon August 14th through the 17th in Nashville, Tennessee. And I don't know who's going to be at Nova Open, but I know somebody will because it's on this list. August 27th through the 31st in Washington, D.C.
I mean, pretty good tournaments at all of these, I think.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of tournaments this year. It's going to be great. Historicon, I don't know if they're running it. I think
Yep.
somebody said they were trying to do a LAN tournament at Historicon, right? LAN tournament at Historicon, C tournament I'm doing at Gen Con, C tournament at NashCon.
Yep.
I think
And
both tournaments at Nova.
Both at Nova? Okay, awesome.
Plus demos and narrative events on most of those as well. Of some sort.
Yep. I'm going to do a narrative event along with my stuff at Gen Con. Jason's got a lot of cool stuff that I'm gonna help him with at NashCon. I think we just put out articles for both of those pretty recently.
Yep, we have a schedule of events that,
So-
at least any events I know of, I try to put up on the blog. And we got pages devoted to some of these bigger events with more descriptions and schedules.
And I want to clear the air. Even though the NashCon article went up last, I copied Jason's NashCon article, so don't that Jason copied me. So you'll see a big similarity between both of them.
I just put up an event review for Infilod, which happened last week. People want to see some pictures. Games we played there.
Oh yeah. Should be cool.
Then I can do the new products if you want, Garrett.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so we do have some shiny new products. From Firelock, we have some Port Royal Nation starters. Those just dropped the past week of this recording, and they each contain about five or six models. I know, just
Six.
looking at them. Six models. They're
7.
resin
6 and an objective.
7 if you
and an objective.
Yes,
six
7
six
if you
model
count the
models, and
objective.
then an objective marker for it that's unique to each box. I believe every box except the English box has a new sculpt in it, but they're great. They're fantastic. If you're looking to get into Port Royal, they're out there for you. If you want more information on them, go check out Thieves Harbor. Eric Goebel is handling that, and he's kind of the guy for Port Royal, and he is fantastic. And then to go on top of that, the Baron of Dice collab is finally here. And the Baron of Dice have made some wonderful D10s for Blood and Plunder and Port Royal, hilariously. Each nation has their own separate dice, and the 10 symbol is that nation's flag. I know I have some Pirate and Dutch dice coming. As soon as they get here, there will be a review article, because I like little accessories for my games.
We're making dice for the little game, too. What's it called? Jason, help me.
Dice?
Oak and
Oak and
Iron.
Iron?
Yeah. Oak and Iron.
The
They make an
little
Oak and
game.
Iron dice.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know
The
that. That's
little
cool.
game.
Yeah, that's great. D8.
Yeah, I ordered some Oak and Iron dice for Spanish recently. I pre-ordered them from Firelock. So
Yeah, it's always fun to get new stuff, and we like to show it on here. But yeah, we are very excited. Can't wait to get my dice in.
Still a few copies of the organized play kit left as well, if you want to get that. Exclusive minis and goodies in there.
Get it before they're gone.
and for more Blood and Plunder content, you can go to bloodandpigment.com and check out all the material we have over there. We have articles on ships, nations, factions, terrain, painting guides, battle reports. Go check it out.
And check out our YouTube channel as well. Trying to get another video to it up next month or so. And if you appreciate our content, you can throw us some money on our Patreon. We use it for events like the Summer of Plunder this year.
And as always, keep your dice ready to win at your back, Yarrharr.